In the quiet suburb of Willowvale, nestled between towering trees and cozy houses with picket fences, lived a curious 10-year-old boy named Leo. With bright eyes full of wonder and a mind brimming with questions, Leo was always eager to explore the world around him. Whether it was investigating the secrets of the nearby woods or unraveling the mysteries hidden within the pages of his favorite books, Leo's thirst for adventure knew no bounds. But Leo was not alone in his quest for excitement. By his side, every step of the way, was his adventurous best friend, Luna. With her tousled hair the color of sunshine and a smile that could light up the darkest night, Luna was the perfect companion for Leo's escapades. Together, they formed an unstoppable duo, ready to take on any challenge that came their way. From climbing trees to building forts, from inventing secret codes to searching for hidden treasure, Leo and Luna were inseparable. Their days were filled with laughter and discovery, as they explored every corner of their neighborhood with boundless energy and enthusiasm. But amidst all their adventures, Leo and Luna knew that the real magic lay beyond the familiar streets of Willowvale, waiting to be discovered in the world beyond. And so, with hearts full of curiosity and dreams as vast as the sky, they set out to embark on the greatest adventure of all, the journey of a lifetime. One crisp autumn morning, as golden leaves danced in the breeze and sunlight filtered through the branches of the old oak tree in Leo's backyard, something extraordinary happened. A small, shimmering envelope materialized out of thin air and gently floated down to rest at Leo's feet. Intrigued, Leo picked up the envelope, its surface adorned with intricate designs that seemed to sparkle with an otherworldly glow. His heart racing with excitement, Leo carefully opened the envelope and withdrew a delicate parchment letter, its edges frayed with age. As he read the elegant script inscribed upon the paper, Leo's eyes widened in wonder. It was an invitation unlike any he had ever received before, a summons to explore a magical forest hidden deep within the heart of Willowvale, a place rumored to be home to wonders beyond imagination. With a thrill of anticipation coursing through his veins, Leo knew that he couldn't resist the call of adventure. Clutching the invitation tightly in his hand, he dashed across the yard to Luna's house, eager to share the news of their next great escapade. Together, Leo and Luna pored over the mysterious invitation, their imaginations ablaze with possibilities. They imagined towering trees that whispered secrets in the wind, enchanted creatures that frolicked in the moonlight, and hidden treasures waiting to be discovered beneath the dappled canopy of leaves. With a shared sense of excitement and determination, Leo and Luna made a solemn pact to embark on this daring adventure together. They gathered their backpacks, filled with provisions for the journey ahead, and set off into the unknown, their hearts brimming with anticipation and their spirits soaring with the promise of magic and mystery that awaited them in the enchanted forest. As Leo stood in his backyard, the invitation clutched tightly in his hand, a mix of excitement and uncertainty flickered across his face. He turned to Luna, who stood beside him with a sparkle in her eyes and a grin that stretched from ear to ear. "Luna," Leo began, his voice tinged with excitement and a hint of hesitation, "this invitation, it's incredible. But are you sure we should go? What if it's too dangerous?" Luna's grin only widened as she placed a reassuring hand on Leo's shoulder. "Leo, don't you see? This is exactly the kind of adventure we've been waiting for. A chance to explore a magical forest, filled with mysteries and wonders beyond imagination. It's like something out of our favorite storybooks." Her words filled Leo with a sense of wonder and possibility, banishing his doubts like shadows before the dawn. He looked into Luna's eyes and saw reflected there the same sense of excitement and longing that burned within his own heart. "You're right, Luna," Leo said, his voice filled with determination. "Let's do it. Let's embark on this adventure together, and who knows what we might discover." With a shared sense of purpose, Leo and Luna set off into the unknown, their footsteps echoing in the crisp autumn air as they ventured forth into the enchanted forest that awaited them. Hand in hand, they faced whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that as long as they had each other, they could conquer anything that came their way. And so, with hearts full of courage and spirits soaring high, Leo and Luna set out on the greatest adventure of their lives, ready to uncover the secrets of the magical forest and write their own tale of bravery and friendship for the ages.
Once upon a time, In a small coastal town nestled between towering cliffs and the endless expanse of the sea, there lived a young woman named Elara. She had an adventurous spirit and an insatiable curiosity about the world beyond her seaside home. One sunny morning, while exploring the rocky shores, Elara stumbled upon a hidden cove where the waves danced with the morning light. As she marveled at the beauty around her, she noticed a lone figure sitting on a weathered rock, gazing out at the horizon. It was a young man named Adrian, a sailor who had sailed the seas and seen wonders beyond imagination. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something sparked between them, an unspoken connection that drew them together like magnets. Adrian, intrigued by Elara's boldness and wanderlust, struck up a conversation, and soon they found themselves talking for hours, sharing stories of their adventures and dreams. Over the days that followed, Elara and Adrian's friendship blossomed into something deeper. They spent their days exploring hidden caves, hiking through lush forests, and watching the sunset paint the sky in hues of orange and pink. With each passing moment, their bond grew stronger, until they realized they had fallen deeply in love. But their happiness was not to last. One stormy night, as Adrian prepared to set sail on a voyage to distant lands, tragedy struck. A fierce tempest descended upon the coast, its winds howling and waves crashing against the cliffs with relentless fury. Elara watched helplessly from the shore as Adrian's ship was tossed and turned by the raging sea. Days turned into weeks, and still, there was no sign of Adrian or his ship. Elara refused to give up hope, clinging to the belief that love could conquer even the fiercest of storms. She spent her days scouring the shoreline, searching for any sign of her beloved. Then, just when all seemed lost, a miracle occurred. One morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, Elara spotted a familiar silhouette on the distant horizon, a ship, battered and weary, but still afloat. With tears of joy streaming down her cheeks, she raced towards the shore, her heart pounding with anticipation. As the ship drew closer, Elara's eyes scanned the deck until they met Adrian's. With a cry of pure elation, she leaped into his arms, holding him tightly as if afraid he might vanish into thin air. Adrian, battered but alive, whispered words of love and gratitude, vowing never to leave her side again. From that day forth, Elara and Adrian's love only grew stronger, forged in the crucible of adversity and strengthened by their unwavering devotion to each other. Together, they embarked on countless adventures, their hearts forever intertwined like the ebb and flow of the tide, bound by a love that would withstand the test of time. And so, in the small coastal town where their love story began, Elara and Adrian lived happily ever after, their spirits forever intertwined like the currents of the sea, a testament to the power of love to conquer all.
In the bustling city of Corktown, there lived a peculiar fellow named Oswald. Oswald was known far and wide for his knack for finding himself in the most absurd and hilarious situations. From mistaking a penguin for a waiter at a fancy restaurant to accidentally joining a parade of clowns while trying to find the bathroom, Oswald's life was a never-ending comedy of errors. One day, Oswald decided to try his hand at gardening. Armed with a pair of gardening gloves and a trowel, he set out to transform his tiny apartment balcony into a lush oasis of greenery. Little did he know that his gardening adventure would lead to a series of uproarious mishaps that would have the entire neighborhood in stitches. Oswald started by planting a few seeds in pots filled with soil he had bought from the local garden center. He watered them diligently, singing to his plants and giving them encouraging pep talks. But despite his best efforts, the plants refused to cooperate. They wilted and withered away, much to Oswald's dismay. Determined to succeed, Oswald decided to consult the internet for gardening tips. He spent hours poring over gardening forums and watching instructional videos, convinced that he would uncover the secret to becoming a master gardener. Armed with newfound knowledge, Oswald set out to try again. This time, Oswald decided to try his hand at growing tomatoes. He carefully planted the seeds, watered them just the right amount, and waited with bated breath for signs of life. Days turned into weeks, and to Oswald's delight, tiny green shoots began to emerge from the soil. He cheered triumphantly, convinced that he had finally cracked the code to successful gardening. But Oswald's joy was short-lived. just as his tomato plants began to flourish, disaster struck. One morning, Oswald awoke to find his balcony overrun by a swarm of hungry squirrels. They had discovered his tomato plants and were feasting on the ripe, juicy fruit with reckless abandon. Oswald tried everything to scare them away, from shouting and waving his arms to setting up elaborate traps, but the squirrels were unfazed. Defeated but undeterred, Oswald decided to try a different approach. He enlisted the help of his neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, a kindly old lady with a fondness for baking. Together, they concocted a plan to outsmart the pesky squirrels once and for all. Armed with bags of nuts and seeds, Oswald and Mrs. Jenkins set about luring the squirrels away from Oswald's balcony and into Mrs. Jenkins' garden across the street. With the promise of a never-ending supply of treats, the squirrels eagerly followed, their tiny paws scampering across the pavement in a comical parade. As Oswald watched the squirrels disappear into the distance, he couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. Despite his best efforts, his gardening adventure had turned into a hilarious comedy of errors, complete with wily squirrels and unlikely alliances. And so, in the bustling city of Corktown, Oswald's gardening misadventure became the stuff of legend, retold with laughter and fondness for years to come. And though his balcony remained barren of tomatoes, Oswald discovered that sometimes, the journey is far more entertaining than the destination.
6 a.m. calls from 6-year-old nephew. I'm 38, with a 15-month-old who doesn't sleep. He nurses all night, and I've only had 5 hours of solid sleep twice since he was born. He usually gets up every hour to 2 hours. My 6-year-old nephew has been FaceTiming a group chat that he created with 13 family members at 6 a.m. We both live in the same time zone, so it's the same time for us. He'll call over and over when no one picks up. I think he's doing it on an iPad and has his own email address to make the calls. I get woken up every time he calls because my watch picks up the call. Today he woke up the baby and I couldn't go back to sleep. I sent a text to the group that includes him and said to please stop calling at 6 a.m. He's waking up the baby and we are sleeping. When I told my spouse about it later, he got very defensive. I said that maybe we should tell his sister because he shouldn't be making those calls, and he said no, I should remove myself from the group. This group chat is with all the nieces and nephews, and that means I wouldn't be able to see what they are up to because they use that chat to post videos and updates on themselves. He seemed mad and just walked out of the room, not letting me talk about the situation. My therapist said the other day that I should say something to the boy about not calling so early, and I did with the text. But I don't understand why my spouse was so defensive. I'm exhausted, and I just need support.
How to deal with the realization that you married someone who probably wouldn't make a good parent. I've been with my husband since I was 20, I'm now 35. I've only recently started thinking about starting a family. I've been on the fence for a long time. But things that didn't matter to me about my partner at 25 now matter that I'm 35. I've realized that I don't think my husband would make a good parent. I think we'd fall into the dynamic of him being the fun parent, and me being the bitch mom. I cannot see him ever disciplining a child. He cannot even stand up to me. I've worn the pants throughout our relationship not because I wanted to, but because he demonstrated he can't or won't. I also think if we had a kid I'd be doing the majority of the work because he isn't good at it, or doesn't know how. He is not a bad person at all. I've never seen him mad in my life, which is kind of weird, and I can see how a child we have together would love him and have a great relationship with him, but I can't see us being a team and doing this together and being on the same page. I picture a constant struggle of me being frustrated at him because he's not doing something right or not supporting me with discipline or how we raise the child. I hate that I'm just now realizing this at 35 because I feel like I've wasted my life pretty much. What am I going to do, divorce him and find someone better before my clock runs out? I'm older now. Plus, I love him. This sucks.
Please someone just tell me to stop stabbing. Please someone just tell me to stop stabbing this person. I have been stabbing this person for a couple of hours now. I cannot seem to stop stabbing this person even though the man is dead. The blood and organs are so visible to my eyes now that I can draw them. We are all just a piece of meat and a lump of cells, and it's crazy how much our skin keeps everything inside. I just want to go home and my wrist is hurting now as well as my hand for holding the knife for hours and hours. Just tell me to stop stabbing this person please, and I can't bear to look at any more blood. I have destroyed his organs, and to think what an amazing job organs do for us, and here I am just stabbing at them. I need anyone to tell me to stop stabbing this guy. It doesn't matter where you come from or what religion you follow as long as you are a human being, just tell me to stop stabbing this guy. I have had a few idiots walk past me and stare at me as I am stabbing this guy. I beg them to tell me to stop stabbing this guy, and it's been so long now, I just want to go home and sleep. Then on occasion, I had a random individual telling me to stop stabbing the guy, but it didn't work as I was still stabbing the clearly dead individual. Then this stranger started laughing, and if he told me to stop stabbing the dead guy but I was still stabbing, then that means this stranger wasn't human at all. I dreaded to think what he actually was as he walked away laughing. Please anyone just tell me to stop stabbing this guy, and you have to be alive and fully human. Just tell me to stop.
My first night alone. This was back when I was 12. I was home alone for the first time. Just my luck, there was a thunderstorm. If I had been a sensible kid, I would have decided to turn on Cartoon Network or the Disney Channel. Not me. I decided to play Halo all night. Internet was too shit for PvP, so I was just doing campaign mode. Halo 2 wasn't the spookiest game to be sure, but the high-tension action with enemy ambushes created a few jump scares from suicidal grunts and sword-slashing covenants. Maybe that is why things got so spooky later at night. Maybe it was because I didn't really stop playing calmly to go to bed, but decided to go to bed after the power flashed out at just the same time as the drumming growling boom of a roll of thunder. Whatever the case may be, I was acutely and suddenly aware of how dark and quiet it was. The old wood house was creaking, even more so from the bombardment of wind and rain. No lie, I was getting freaked out. It'd be great for the story if I said the power had stayed out and I had to creep through the house with a flashlight or a candle. But that's not what happened. The power came back quickly, and I turned every light in the living room, kitchen, and my parents' room on in order to try to make myself feel safe. With my heart racing, I sat down on Dad's chair. It was the most comfy chair, after all, and I wouldn't get much chance to do that again when everybody came back home from their trip to the cabin. I think I drifted off to sleep for a second. It doesn't make sense that I could have, heart beating as it was, mind. I just say because I must have triggered a well-known psychological effect where you can see and hear things just as you start to fall asleep. Erica, I heard my name very quickly and oddly loudly whispered. In a flicker of pale yellow, white, peach, and mottled brown, for a moment I thought I saw a white lady with long blonde hair down to her feet flicker like a busted school light in front of me. She seemed like she had deer horns and was wearing nothing but a long white nightgown. It didn't last for more than a second before it was gone. The funny thing is I could and still can remember details like the mottling pattern of brown to light brown of the horns from the brief flash, but I never made out eyes or nose or mouth details. Maybe I didn't look there, or maybe she didn't have a face. Maybe I am overthinking it. I mean, it's a psychological thing that happens when you fall asleep for a second, right? That all by itself would be enough to make it the creepiest shit I experienced as a kid, but after I woke up to that, I decided I was gonna stay woke. At least for a little while. I wasn't supposed to, but I decided to make some coffee. That way I could stay up until things stopped being scary. As soon as I went to get the water to put in the coffee machine though, that thunder rolled and that lightning struck again. Way above my head in the kitchen window, I saw red eyes and deer antlers. It didn't look like 2 eyes, it looked like 4 of them. I ran through the house, turning off the lights everywhere except my parents' room. I closed myself in there and locked the door. After laying down on my parents' super comfy super-sized bed, I actually started laughing. It had to have been a deer. I mean, we were out in the sticks. I know I said that the window was high above me, but part of the house was kinda underground, so I was convinced that it couldn't have been that high above me on even footing. I eventually got so calm that I fell asleep in my parents' room with the lights still on. I wake up a bit later. It is pitch black. The bed is creaking and shifting. I can feel the pull and weight of someone else on the bed with me. A loud, growling, rumbling sound comes from where the weight is pulling. Just when I am about to scream, the person sniffs and inhales inward, completing the sequence of sounds to make Dad's signature snore. I get off the bed and lay on the floor. Sleeping on the bed next to my dad is a little too weird for me at 12 for some reason. At the same time, even knowing that was just Dad, my heart is still pounding. I am not walking through the house in the dark to my room. I was still pretty afraid of the dark. Wish I had a nightlight, I murmured. Then, a ball of light seems to just appear near the wall behind me. I pinch myself, and it hurts. I shakily approach the light, knowing I would regret not testing if it was just a reflection on the wall or something. My hand passes right through it and touches the wall. I walk around it and see that it is definitely not touching the wall. Despite all of this, I am done. I decide, affirmatively, that despite all my tests that I must be dreaming and paradoxically that I'm too sleepy to deal with the shenanigans of a mere dream. Finally, I pass put on the floor next to my parents' bed. Next day I found out that Dad came home early because the cabin bed was too old and rough on his bad back. I also find out that the underground portion of the house starts in my parents' room. As high up as that kitchen window is, it's equivalent to a second-story window. So that was something. I never saw anything like that in the house again. I did get an oddly intense craving for meat after that, though. Ruined the vegetarian diet I had been trying.
So I was caught shoplifting back when I was a teenager. I never admitted this to anyone. Not even my brother who picked me up when this happened. I told him some bullshit story and he either really believed my BS or he just didn't care enough. Anyway, on to the story. I was 16/17 at the time. I was an angry teenager in college living with my parents and older brother. I didn't work or anything, so I didn't have money of my own. Just FYI, I'm from Southeast Asia, this is completely normal. We were just a normal middle-class family. My parents didn't exactly give me an allowance for fun money. I'd get just enough for my phone credit, traveling, food, and that was it. If I wanted to buy anything I had to ask for it. I hated asking for money, so I would save what I could, but it just wasn't enough for anything. The first time I shoplifted was at a little rental bookshop. You had to pay like $5 to $10 per book to rent it for a certain time period. You get half back when you return the book. I was a fast reader and loved to read. I couldn't afford to pay for so many books, so I slipped one into my bag one time. I did pay for another book and left. When I came back, I returned the one officially rented and sneakily put the other book back on the shelf. I did this a lot and for at least 2 years. At one point I borrowed 3 books. I always returned them. I don't know if the shopkeeper ever noticed or not. There was no indication if they did. I got bolder after I did it a few times at the bookstore. I tried it at a supermarket. Stupid, I know. I somehow managed to get away with it a couple of times. I'd slip a bar of chocolate in my bag and pay for a few other items to avoid looking suspicious. And also only at supermarkets that didn't have the alarm systems at the entrance/exits. At this point, it wasn't even about not having the money for it. I just wanted to see if I could get away with it. It was like some sort of thrill. Then came the time I got caught. It was a box of Ferrero Rocher chocolates. I slipped it into my bag and pretended to browse some more. I picked up other chocolates and went to the checkout. As I was leaving, a staff stopped me and asked to see my bag. It was like I was dropped into an icy pool. They found the Ferreros and asked if I paid for it. I was nearly pissing myself. I admitted to the theft on the spot. The guy talked to another staff and they took me to a back room. They told me they'll have to call my parents. Luckily, this was a week when both my parents were away overseas. They ended up calling my brother instead. Thankfully, they just made me pay for the Ferreros and let me go with a warning before my brother even got there to pick me up. I'd never been more scared in my life. When my brother came, I told him it was a misunderstanding and how it wasn't rung up properly blah blah blah. He probably didn't care enough or forgot about it because he never told our parents about it. After this, I never tried shoplifting again. It was a terrifying and embarrassing experience being caught. I also avoided that supermarket like a plague even though they didn't blacklist me. I don't think I could ever bring myself to tell anyone I know about this.
I realized something with my husband today. We're deep in the newborn no sleep, crying, "What do you want?" stage. We're tired. I woke up this morning and looked at the dirty toilet bowl for the 20th day in a row maybe and got frustrated. I cleaned it right then and there in front of my husband as he was getting ready for work. Showed him how easy it is to do. So could you just do it sometimes? I got frustrated with him right before he left for work. Then he had a hard morning at work. Then we had a hard afternoon with our newborn's tongue tie procedure. Then he had a hard evening at work and I had a hard time comforting this poor baby. He came home and you could tell he was just beat down from the day. Then he washed all the bottles, took the trash out, got our night feeding ready, and made sure to hug me and tell me he loves me. I am reminded that some shit can just wait and I should be kind to him of course always, but especially before, during, and after a hard day. That's part of our job in this commitment. The bathroom trash is overflowing too right now. It won't get taken up by him anytime soon, and I love and appreciate my husband so much. We all need more love and less nagging.
What are your worst dating experiences? Guys specific. Someone made a girl specific post and I didn't want to intrude, but I'm sure guys have just as many. Here's my all-time worst one. Talked to a woman for a couple days on a dating app. She didn't have any pics below the waist, and all of them were sitting. I didn't think anything of it, just an observation. She asked to meet up. I was new to the area so I agreed to let her pick me up. She pulled up to my driveway and said, "I'm here. Also, you should know I'm deaf." At this point I couldn't hide, she knows where I live now. I said screw it, it's messed up that she kept that from me, but I'm not against it, so I got in her van. She handed me her phone and the note said, "We can communicate by passing the phone back and forth." Long, awkwardly silent drive to her place. Not awkward for her obviously. We get to her apartment complex. She shuts her van off, and the back door automatically opens, and a wheelchair comes out. I look at her like WTF, and she hands me her phone with a note already written out that said, "I knew you wouldn't hang out with me if I told you I was deaf and crippled." In most situations, this is very sad, but in the moment, it was pretty infuriating that someone would hide that valuable information until they're at the person's home, in an area that they're not familiar with. So once again, I said screw it. We went in her place, watched a movie, with subtitles on of course. At the end of the movie, she messaged me and asked if I would kiss her. Fuck it, I'm already knee-deep in this shitstorm. So I kissed her, and she started moaning, but it wasn't an attractive moan, she's deaf. She then asked if I wanted to go in her bedroom. For a brief second, I actually considered it, but randomly looked over at her kitchen table and saw a pack of adult diapers. The thought of having sex with a deaf, crippled person who can't control their bowel or bladder, yeah, there's no way that I'd be able to perform. I politely declined, she drove me home, and we never spoke again.
BF does not want to drive me to the airport. Is it unreasonable to feel hurt? Hey, Reddit. I, 23F, have an early morning flight tomorrow and would like to leave a bit after 4 a.m. I live about 10 minutes from the airport, and my boyfriend, 22M, told me that if my Uber cost is too expensive he would drive me. Upon checking, I found that the Uber price is rather high, about the same as parking my car at the airport for the duration I am gone, and he said he would drive. Today he has proposed the option that I drive myself, give him a spare key, and he goes to pick my car up with a friend in the afternoon. I am feeling rather hurt by this. I know I am not entitled to a ride, but annoying tasks like rides to the airport are a give and take in a relationship. I don't see why he offered if he is going to jump through hoops to avoid waking up early. I don't feel comfortable trying to find a parking spot before my flight, nor with having to deal with the logistics of him finding my car to drive it back to my place. I told him this and he said he would drive me then, but he seems frustrated. At this point, I would rather just Uber than feel like a burden. Am I being unreasonable here? Perhaps I am expecting too much? Would appreciate any insights on this. TLDR, BF has made it clear that he does not want to drive me to the airport, but he will if it's my only option. Not sure if I am valid in feeling let down or if I am being entitled/unreasonable here. Edit, added in the wake-up time of 4 a.m. to post. Edit 2, I should note his finals are next week, which is of course stressful. Edit. Hi everyone. Obligatory, I did not expect to receive this many comments. Edit. Thank you to everyone who has responded. I posted to gain some perspective and I certainly have on both sides. It's interesting how strongly we all seem to feel about airport rides. I wonder why that is. If any is interested, I did end up Ubering this morning. To answer a few questions I've been receiving. I did not originally ask him for a ride, he offered. This came about when he asked me how I am getting to the airport. I said that I usually Uber and he had said that if it is expensive he will drive me. I checked the Uber cost before taking him up on that offer. Why didn't I schedule my flight for a later time? Believe me, I would if I could. This is the only flight out of my small city to my hometown. Do we live together? No, he lives about 5 minutes away and would sleep over.
How married are you, comma? My husband and I sometimes do the grossest things, not sexual haha, and then just laugh how married we are. Most recently, I ate some lamb and orzo, had the worst gas imaginable. I was working from home that day with my husband. The pain was so much I could not walk, so I lay down on my belly on the bed to get the gas out. It was hurting so much I called my husband to help. I was lying on my stomach, he started to push my back down to the bed, basically squeezing out gas. It was 5 minutes of me farting grossly right at his face. He would giggle here and there, but he was more concerned about the pain I was going through. Farts later, he rolled me over and started to push down on my belly. Looks like the pain was gone and I was better. We then looked at each other. I went, "Oh man, we are so married," and we just burst out laughing for a long time. Any funny stories like that, people? ETA. Guys, it doesn't have to be a gross story. I am just a gross person. But I am loving all the different posts, hee. AATA for backing out of my friend's wedding when his fiancé called me uptight and a pick-me. My friend Sam, 28M, his fiancée Kate, 29F, and I, 27F, went to uni together for our masters. Sam and I are both South Asian and from the same community, so I was quite close to him during our early master's years. But then Sam met Kate, and out of respect for their relationship and that Kate was uncomfortable with me, I stepped away and minimized contact. We remained friends and our families are close now. Sam is now engaged to Kate, and he asked me to be by his side and do some of the duties the groom's sister usually does. I said yes, as he doesn't have sisters and his female cousins are very small. South Asian weddings have various such rituals. Kate, for the first time in many years, finally seemed happy in my presence and told me she was glad I was helping at the wedding. One of our uni friends, who is close friends with Kate, sent me a video that she secretly recorded where Kate was talking about me to her friends, and I was honestly hurt by what she said. She called me an uptight B********H, and that my husband was only with me because apparently I could be the stable wife with the personality of a stale cardboard. She also told them that I was a pick-me and that I was always trying to get her ML to purposefully not understand her and ruin her relationship with her in-laws. She was saying that she is only keeping me close to keep an eye on me and so that I cannot sabotage her further. For context, her ML doesn't speak or understand English. She only speaks our mother tongue, so I only speak to her in that language, and Kate has made passive-aggressive comments about it all the time. I did not say a word all these years to either Sam or his family because I felt it would ruin my relationship with them, and Sam was happy with Kate, so I didn't want to meddle either. I showed the video to my husband, and he was so mad that he was about to go to Sam's house and demand an apology. I was just so sad that I texted Sam that I could not be available to participate further in the rituals and that I was sorry for such short notice, but I think it would be better if we had limited contact for a while. My husband, however, was so mad that he didn't listen to me about letting it go, due to Kate's behavior all these years, and he called Sam and yelled at him and sent him the video, not before blocking him from our phones. Today, Kate called me and asked me to talk to Sam, as he was mad at her, and his mum threatened to withdraw her blessing as she now considered Kate a vulgar woman. I told her off, and Sam apologized for all of this and said that he understood if I didn't want to talk to him again. I responded politely and he hung up. Now, I'm feeling guilty about potentially ruining Sam's wedding and my friendship with him and his family, and I think I could have handled this better. Ida? My husband turned 40 and suddenly became the man I married again. Hi, I'm new here. I create this account because something happened to my husband about a year ago, and I don't know what to make of it. My husband has always been a good man, and he's a wonderful father. He also has a great career and very driven to succeed. But after the kids were born, his passion for me had waned. He was once very affectionate and flirty, and he couldn't keep his hands off me. We had date nights and would take weekend trips filled with kissing, hand-holding, and a lot of sex. But after the kids, all of that began to fade, and it continued to the point that I felt like we were roommates. I kept myself in shape for him and initiated sex often. He would never turn me down, but it was lazy. It was basically get off quick and go to sleep. So after a while I just stopped imitating. This continued for years, and I had just grown used to it. I still loved him. I had no desire to cheat or divorce. I just figured this is what happens after kids and I'll just deal with it. Then, about a year ago, he got a babysitter and asked me if I wanted to go away for the weekend, just the two of us. I was shocked but agreed. And the entire weekend he was affectionate and flirty and just fun. He hadn't acted this way in years. He was a completely different guy, and that included in the bedroom too. This may be TMI, but my husband hadn't performed oral sex on me in 10 years, and every time he had before he was kind of terrible at it. But while we were away, he just did it without asking, and he was amazing at it. This new attitude continued when we got home, and a few months after that I started to notice that he had lost weight. Shortly after that he started to look more toned as well. He had gotten a dad bod, but now he looked better than when we got married. I won't lie, I had difficulty keeping my hands off him. He's basically become the perfect husband overnight. I don't know what happened. He says he just wanted to be a better husband, but there was no event that triggered it outside of turning 40. Could that be it? I've read that middle-aged men sometimes get in shape because they are looking to cheat. But that's not the case. He's never cheated or had any desire to. We have lifestyle 360 for the kids, and I see where he is. It's work and home. I also see all his texts since we share an iPad. So I'm kind of stumped. TLDR, my husband suddenly became a perfect husband and I don't know why. Edit. Thank you all for the comments. I will answer a few common questions. I see no testosterone in the house. Unless he's taking it at work and not telling me, then I don't think that's what it is. How did he become so good at oral? He did tell me that before he didn't like it, but now he does. I could tell before he was grossed out by it, and that affected how I felt about it. So right there was a change. But that doesn't explain how the man has become downright intuitive with oral and sex in generally. He has a sense of when to speed up, when to stay consistent, when I'm close, and how to get me there. I just don't know how that happened. That part didn't happen right away, but it didn't take long. Like I said above, cheating really isn't possible. I always know where he is and have for years. I can track him, and so can the kids. He goes to work and comes home. And when he leaves the house, it is to the store or his parents, and I can see that too. Also, wouldn't you get in shape before the affair, not after it was over? Because I have been hyper-vigilant and there's nothing.
I do not like my stepson. I need to change this, but he shits me so much and I can't pinpoint why. I knew what I was getting into 5 years ago dating a man with a 9-year-old son. I also had 2 little kids at 4 and 5, so knew single-parent life was rough. But I fell in love with this man and he fell in love with me and my 2 kids. I adore this man. We married 16 months ago. We didn't see his son much, only every second weekend, as he lived with his mom. His son is an only child and hated that the attention on him was now shared. He's now 14 and as a teen is making life hard. Sly comments, continuing bad behavior at school, blaming split family and not getting the attention my children get. And I get it. But everything this kid does shits me and I don't know why. Disappointed face. He eats non-stop, wants every outfit or toy my kids have, very disrespectful, hates that his dad has to share his time around, and the bratty comments like, "Dad loves you more than me." I bite my tongue so much, have a little explained to hubby that I feel awkward, anxious and angry when his son is here. He said, well, we are all one family now, we just have to find the balance. I feel bad that he loves and adores my kids, but I can't stand his disappointed face. Should I get counseling for myself? Is it because I know there's an unbreakable bond with his son that he'll never live up to? Or his son's just a brat whose attitude angers me so much? Hubby says it's a teenager thing, ignore his tantrums. Any other split families have this?
Should I end my friendship? Please help. I don't know what to do. I can be wrong too, so I just need to know how I should move forward. My friend treats me like shit. I am always available for her, whatever she needs. I am there, even when I am out with my family or other friends of mine, even when I was at my honeymoon. I used to always reply to her texts and solve her issues. I remember I was at a lunch with my husband on our honeymoon when she asked me to top up her mobile balance. I did it there and there. I was out with one of my friends. She said she needs food ordered as she was super occupied at work, so I did it for her and even paid for it. The friend I was with complained that why are you on the phone, and he felt bad, but I didn't bat an eye because I was too occupied serving this friend. We have had several arguments on this topic that whenever she is busy she never accommodates me, she never replies to my text, and always says that I don't have time or the energy for your childish behavior as I am busy right now, and if you can't accept me the way I am, you can leave because everyone leaves anyway. At the end, this hurt me a lot. I have done so much for her, I have jeopardized so many of my friendships just for her, but she just doesn't care. I did what I did for her out of love and I don't want to rub it in her face, and I have never done it either. If she has had complaints with me, she has been vocal about it and I have changed, but whenever I have had complaints with her, suddenly I become the bad guy. The only thing I ask from her is her time, that's it. But she doesn't understand that. I love her, but all this is draining me. She has been in another city for her relative's wedding for 5 days and hasn't made contact with me for the past 3 days, even though she is online on TikTok, reacting to the reels I send to her on Instagram, following my posts on FB, but not responding me on WhatsApp.
Update: I'm very disappointed with my husband. A few weeks ago I made a post about my wedding. Well, this is an update. I'm going to file for divorce. Since I wrote here, many things have happened. But long story short, I told my husband it wasn't working for me anymore. I asked for time to put things in order. He didn't respect my space. In a few days he got sick and ended up staying at home. He was at my Phil's house, and he was sleeping on the couch. He asked us to go to individual and couples therapy. And he said he didn't want to lose me. Well, a few days ago my BIL came to visit me and they were talking about our marriage. I'm not proud to say this, but I overheard part of the conversation. My husband said he was trying hard to get back to being intimate, and that he intended to get me pregnant, knowing that with another child I would never leave him. My BIL laughed and said he would have to pierce more condoms for this. I don't take birth control at the moment and we are using condoms as contraception. I'm so angry that I've barely been able to look at him the last few days. I've been avoiding him, and honestly there's no more time to fix our marriage. How could he be capable of something like this? I feel deceived and manipulated in ways I can barely explain. He still doesn't know that I heard, and he doesn't know that I'm going to file for divorce. Son saw explicit text. My 12-year-old son just came up to me saying he had some bad news that would hurt my feelings. He was using my husband's phone to FaceTime his granddad, and when he was about to hang up he saw a message pop up that said, "I can't wait to suck your DCK again." My son asked me not to tell his dad that he told me and that we should all just pack and leave because his dad is a bad man. How can I approach my husband with this info while protecting my son? !update! After speaking with my husband this morning, he let me know that he started watching porn and is not proud of it. He also said that he has not been with anyone physically. So I think what my son saw was a porn site notification rather than a message. Doesn't make me feel better, but just wanted to give that info.
In 6th and 7th grade, I used to stare at this girl every day. In 6th grade, there was a new girl in my class. I was always looking over at her. At lunch, she tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "Hey you, every time when I'm around you, why do you always stare at me?" I just made up a reason. Me staring at her was only sometimes I did it. And then me staring at her turned into an everyday thing. Every time I walked past her in the hallway or when I saw her, I would look at her. She would always say to stop looking at her. One time when we were passing by each other in the hallway, I was looking at her again and she said to me, "Boo little boy." She elbowed me to the wall. In 6th grade, she was in my PE class and again I was doing it. She told me I act just like her little cousin. She also rode my bus. She sat in the back and I sat in the front. Every time it was her stop, I'd turn around to watch her go past. She said to me once, "Boo. Dang, always be staring at me." I glanced at the bus driver and I saw her laughing. Someone sitting across from me asked, "Why do you keep on staring at her?" I said, "I don't know." In 7th grade, she wasn't in any of my classes, she was just in the hallway. And again, I stared at her every day. In 8th grade, she wasn't at the school anymore.
MIL is hurt, confused and upset. We decided to send our twins to a regular kindergarten. She and FIL are coming over to talk. DH and I are new parents. We have twins currently in preschool, and they'll be starting kindergarten next year in September. I want to preface this by saying MIL hates the preschool the twins attend because it's more play-based than the ones she tried to force us into sending our children. We're glad we stood our ground because our twins have really thrived at their preschool and become more confident. MIL threw a fit when she found out through SIL, I'll never tell her anything again, that would be sending our twins to a regular kindergarten next year. Instead of the snobby one MIL has been dropping not so casually mentioning, she accused me, not her precious 31-year-old baby, of not caring about our children's future and their religion because the kindergarten they're going to is secular and has an age-appropriate syllabus. We obviously do care about their education as we've made sure the syllabus is appropriate for 4-year-olds. We also asked people who sent their kids to the kindergarten what they thought and they all praised it. They claimed their kids were well prepared for primary school after leaving the kindergarten. We explained this to MIL and she used the religious argument, they go to church every Sunday, I'm sure going to this kindergarten won't magically turn them into atheists. MIL cried when we said we wouldn't be changing our minds about kindergarten. Instead of moving on, she sent this in the WhatsApp family group chat. At BILs, SILs, cousin-in-laws etc. who sent your children to fancy kindergarten, can you please tell OP and DH about the benefits of sending the twins to this kindergarten? Smiling face with halo, can you please tell them how tough it is to get into private primary to secondary school? We already told her we're not sending our twins. Thank you dears. Love you lots. Red heart hash 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 red heart hash. I responded, no need everyone. Smiling face with halo, the twins are going to another private school we heard good things about, so they don't need to go to this kindergarten. We want them to keep having fun at school like they are now. X red heart hash. DH quoted my response and said, the kindergarten and primary school we picked for the win, face with tongue sticking out trophy books. MIL obviously lost her mind reading this and contacted everyone privately to complain about our decision for our kids. They're going to the primary school we picked is a compromise. I wanted them to go to my public school, but it's not as good as it was back then. MIL nearly burst into flames when I mentioned public school lol. Anyways, MIL, Ailes and FIL are coming over to see the twins, and so FIL doesn't have to deal with her and her sisters whining and talking about this topic anymore. Not sure how to handle this because all I can think of is laughing in their faces right now.
AITA for saying I don't see why my sister always has to be included, but I don't. Me, 15F, and my sister, 16F, are only 11 months apart, but we're really different. She was always the prettier one, the more outgoing and popular one. She was always surrounded by friends and loves all things makeup and fashion. I'm more introverted and shy and I never really fit the way she did. Though I always wanted to have friends. I like video games and baking and reading. I'm not into beauty stuff like she is. I don't really ever wear makeup. So we've never had much in common. I have tried to be close to my sister but it never worked out. We're just too different. And she resented my attempts for us to be closer. She'd let her friends say mean things about me like calling me a freak, a weirdo, saying I was lame and dumb. Sometimes they'd be in our house and they'd kick me out of the basement, which is set up for games and movies and stuff like that. They'd tell me I couldn't hang out with them and they wanted to watch something. My parents would always tell me to find something else to do. And a few times her friends split up at our house and some were outside and some in the basement, so I really only had my room as a refuge. I told my parents about what the others would say about me and they really didn't care. I think once they said they'd deal with it, but it didn't stop. My parents just let them kick me out of spaces or tell me to stop doing what I was doing so they could do it, and it was never a problem. When I started high school, I finally found a group of friends I fit in with. There's 5 of us and we're all really close. I even have a boyfriend now. But my sister hates that she's not welcome in with them, and the reason for that is before I was friends with them, she and her friends were really awful to them and she would mock them or make fun of them for their appearance or for being weird. So none of them like her. My boyfriend is the only one without that history because he moved to town right at the start of high school, so never knew my sister before we got close. When my friends are over, my sister will try to insert herself, and she's tried to do that by making fun of me or pushing me out, but my friends actually like me. The problem is my parents are not okay with my sister being excluded, and they said if I want to hang out with my friends, we have to be open to her hanging out if she wants. She has more free time now because her friendship group had this big fight, and now there's so many splits in smaller groups and nobody has the time, so she's around more and wants to be involved. I tried to stop inviting my friends over, but if they even came to our neighborhood to hang out, it was a rule my parents put in place. Saturday I got so frustrated I told the 3 of them that I don't see why my sister always has to be included, but I don't. I told them it was clear she's the favorite and everyone in the family thinks I'm just some freak who should be alone for the rest of her life. My parents were furious. Ida?
My 27M girlfriend, 27F, won't stop swapping out my real groceries with small versions of branded items. It's basically what the title says, but the weird part is she won't ever admit that it's her. She just sort of looks at me and pretends to be confused when I confront her. Basically, every few weeks I come home and some of my groceries are missing and replaced by miniature plastic versions of themselves. Come home from work and looking forwards to a Coca-Cola? Oh great, my Coca-Cola is gone and there's a miniature plastic version. Break something small and need to tape it back together? Oh good, miniature duct tape. Make eggs and want some Tabasco? Oh great, miniature Tabasco. You get the point. Kind of funny, but pretty annoying too. So far all fair play. Clearly my girlfriend thinks it's some sort of funny prank or practical joke, but the thing that's weirding me out is that she never acknowledges that it's her. Even when I start to get genuinely upset or frustrated, she insists that it's so strange that random objects are shrinking in our home. This all culminated to last night. Last night I came home and I had been craving something sweet all day. So I started baking blueberry muffins, my genuine favorite treat for myself. I get everything together, preheat the oven, and I'm about to start making the batter when I open the cabinet and oh look, the flour is gone and replaced with a miniature bag of flour. Ha ha, so funny. I immediately call her and ask her where she put it, but she keeps playing dumb. I start making a slightly bigger deal about it. I'm like, look, I went to the store to get fresh blueberries. I've been looking forwards to this. Can you please tell me where the flour is? She won't drop the act. Like what the hell? Before we ended the call she slyly dropped, as if you need more muffins, and hung up. Like what the hell? I haven't called her back yet, so we haven't talked in over a day. I'm pretty mad at her over this. I went way out of my way to do something special for myself and she wouldn't drop the act when I made it clear I was genuinely upset. Reddit, I know this sounds insane, but I'm genuinely considering time apart over this. She clearly doesn't take my needs seriously. Do you guys think this might be breakup territory? Thanks for anyone's tips. TLDR, items from around my house such as sugar, a bottle of Coca-Cola, etc., randomly shrink into miniature plastic toy versions of themselves. My girlfriend won't ******ing stop and I'm losing it. She ruined my muffins to stick with this stupid joke. Parents upset with my that I'm pregnant and it's killing me. I, 28F, just found out I am pregnant and we very recently lost my grandma and my mom is heavily grieving. When I found out I was pregnant, I called my mom to tell her. She did not seem very happy at all, almost apathetic. Later she called my dad with the news. He called me back and also seemed less than thrilled. Over the course of the past couple of days, I have been crying non-stop. This is not how I ever expected the news to go over. My mom keeps telling me she is too numb to feel anything. My dad keeps repeating that he is worried about us financially. My husband and I both make around 80k, 160k total. We have decent savings. We don't ask my parents for money. Today, my mom told me that she wanted more from me, and that she wanted me to enjoy marriage longer and travel, and that I am not prepared for how hard it will be. She also mentioned that she didn't think I wanted a baby until I was 34 or 35, so it feels very shocking to her. She simply thinks that I am throwing my life away and has asked me over and over if I am sure I want this. As you can imagine, I am pretty devastated. My eyes hurt from crying and my heart feels broken. I've always wanted my parents' approval in everything I do, and I feel like they have never been more disappointed. I don't know if my mom is saying hurtful things because she is in the process of grieving or if this is really how she feels. I have always wanted a baby. I think my husband and I would be wonderful parents, but now I am just second-guessing everything. I don't know what I am asking for here right now. I am just so sad it hurts.
MIL refuses to stop doing my daughter's hair, so we banned her from watching them alone. My DDs are half black and have 4B/4A. It depends on who you ask. Hair. My MIL doesn't know how to do their hair because she's not used to the hair type, as most of the family has straight hair. So when she undoes the styles DH or I do for a more suitable style, she can't replicate them, which leaves DD's hair looking crazy when we pick them up. We've both kindly asked her to just leave their heads alone because we end up having to redo the styles MIL's undone, and she hurts DD's while trying to do their hair because she's rough with it. MIL doesn't listen because she's in this weird one-sided competition with my mom. DD's let it slip once that my mom had done their hair, so now MIL wants to do it too. Instead of learning like DH did, my mom is a great teacher. MIL has her number. She can call and ask, or even watching a YouTube tutorial. MIL just ruins hours of work. It's hours because the girls are still young and wriggle about. We've told her twice not to do the girls' hair, just leave it. We banned her from watching DD's alone when they revealed MIL hurts them when doing their hair. She's the victim in all this apparently. MIL claims I'm a reverse racist, whatever that means, because I told her not to do DD's hair. This is not a race thing at all. Growing up, my aunt who's white did my hair as much as my mom did. I'd have no problem with her doing DD's hair if she knew what she was doing. Also, she's managed to make me the villain when DH was the one who banned her from watching the girls alone, which is funny. MIL is suggesting I force DH to make this decision as if he can't think for himself. Now I've got messages from the in-laws wanting to know what the hell is going on, and I don't know what to say. Everything I've come up with will be easy for MIL to twist to fit her narrative, and I'm sick of it. Please help.
My 61F daughter, 40F, recently got married to her husband, 37M, and we had to pay for the wedding and financially provide for them. It's taking a toll. What should I do? Our 61F and 66M daughter, 40F, recently got married to her husband, 37M. They met and started dating 1 year ago. The problem is that we have to financially provide for them. I don't think either of them were in the financial position to get married. My daughter, who was in college recently, doesn't have a job, and they are both living with us. She got a master's degree but struggles to hold a job. She recently had a job working at Walmart, but that didn't last because she just wants to go to college. She's in a lot of debt. When she met her husband, he was living with his parents at the time, and his job didn't pay well either. My daughter wanted to get married, so they did, but like I said, neither of them were in the financial position to do so. Of course, we had to pay for literally everything, and we still have to financially provide for them because my daughter doesn't have a job and she lives with us. She's been living off us for a while. In fact, I remember 2 years ago, she wanted to borrow our car, but my husband needed it to go to work, and she got really upset and called us all sorts of horrible names. I don't really blame her because it's not all her fault. College has put her in a lot of debt, and the capitalistic system makes it near impossible for anyone to get a house or rent an apartment. So, I don't blame her. She's a grown woman and wanted to get married, and I was happy to pay for it, but neither of them have jobs, and my husband and I can't provide for the both of them. I asked my son, 25M, a construction worker who makes a decent salary, for help, but he didn't want to help his sister. He blames his sister for her problems and said she shouldn't have gotten married if she wasn't ready. I don't agree. I think my daughter is a 40-year-old grown woman, and it wasn't a bad idea to get married if she wanted. I need advice. What should I do? I suggested to my husband that we open our marriage and it backfired badly. First, a little background. My husband and I have been married for 5 years, and before I met my husband I was very promiscuous. Now, I am not ashamed of my past and neither is my husband. In fact, my husband and I have always incorporated stories of my past into our bedroom activities. Nothing makes him more excited than hearing what I have done with other men in explicit detail. And it really turns me on as well and makes the whole experience with him that much better. So armed with this knowledge, I made the horrible mistake of believing that he would be excited by the suggest that we open our marriage. I want to stop and say that I had nobody in mind when I thought this up. I figured I'd just download Tinder and away I would go. Then I would return to my husband armed with news stories or even video if I was lucky. But when I made the suggestion, he did not take it as I had thought he would. He got really upset, assumed there was someone I had in mind or had already cheated. So I broke down, hysterically crying and begging. I said I'd take it all back. I gave him my phone to show him there was nothing there, and there wasn't. But he still looked broken and hurt that I would even suggest it. I messed up bad and really misjudged the situation. It's been a week and he hasn't left me or asked for a divorce, but he's not himself. How can I convince him that I am happy being monogamous and he's all I need? I'll die if I lose him, so I created this account in desperation to get advice from anywhere I can find it. Edit. I'm okay with the harsh comment. I deserve them, but if you wouldn't mind offering a suggestion to help me as well, that would be appreciated. Edit 2. I do want to clear a few things up. I honestly thought this was something he wanted. He said many times that he wished that he was there to see me with other men. I obviously interpreted this incorrectly. We had also talked many times about the difference between sex and love, and we both see it the same way. I also put it to him as a suggestion versus a request. I didn't say I want an open marriage. I asked how he would feel about it. I would only want to be with other men if my husband wanted me to be. And it would only be to enhance our own love-making. I spent years sleeping around and found it very empty and hollow. I am very satisfied with my husband both physically and emotionally. He's by far the best sex I've ever had, and me sharing my past experiences just made it that much better. I horribly misinterpreted what he would be comfortable with. I messed up bad.